Hello everyone, my name is Carl Johnson from Cleared Systems, and today we are going to talk about penetration testing for federal and DoD contractors. This is something that comes up a lot, and Cleared Systems, we perform penetration testing along with vulnerability scans, and so this is something that we discuss with our customers quite frequently. And so I just want to take some time to break down the differences in penetration testing when we are focusing on federal and DoD contractors. So, what exactly is penetration testing? The best way to sum up is simulating an actual attack. Now, that attack could be from malware, ransomware, phishing attacks. Either way, we are pretending that we are a hacker, or we are a rogue employee, or just someone that is curious trying to penetrate your systems. It's also called pen testing, but mostly we refer to it as penetration testing. And the most important part of this is we're trying to discover what vulnerabilities or weaknesses your organization has before an actual attacker finds these weaknesses. And then once we find a weakness, we want to help to remediate as quickly as possible. Now, penetration testing when it comes to federal contractors and DoD contractors is a little different than for standard organization. For one, a federal contractor, DoD contractor, you might have items such as COI, ITAR, which we're talking about national security. Additionally, you may also abide to federal compliance such as HIPAA, DFARS, CMMC, NIST, the whole gamut. So it's even more important as an organization to be proactive when it comes to penetration testing. One, because of fines that the federal government could place upon you, civil and criminal complications as well, and not to mention your reputation, right? That's what you want to hold to the most. You don't want to be in the news because your organization has had a ransomware attack or a data breach, or your information is found on the dark web. There's all types of penetration testing. We perform all types depending on our customer, but the most common network penetration testing, where we're of course looking for vulnerabilities in your network, application and web application testing, where we're looking at your external or internal websites, intranet, extranet sites. Maybe you have vendor or supplier portals that have not been patched properly, which comes up a lot. Additionally, we are also focusing on social engineering, which is the oldest penetration test in the book, basically using humans or using systems to simulate an interaction with humans. And as we all know, humans are probably the weakest part in the chain when it comes to protecting an organization. The fourth part is physical penetration testing, right? Where we're literally going to the organization, going to the facility, and trying to bypass security measures. Sometimes we'll do a combination of things. We'll do physical penetration testing along with web or network penetration testing in cases where we may go into your lobby, be able to jump onto your Wi-Fi, and that Wi-Fi is connected to your main network, and from there we can get onto your network and be able to locate and find vulnerabilities. And lastly, for wireless penetration testing, and this has become more and more popular, whether we're talking about security cameras, whether we're talking about IoT devices, or even we're talking about sometimes remote badge scans. This is probably the most important because a lot of times these wireless devices are out of sight of cameras or human. So it's important to test wireless networks just the same as web network, physical, etc. So part of the penetration testing process, first, after we have created an agreement, the next part is the planning and the reconnaissance, defining the scope. We're gathering intelligence on the target himself, whether it's domain names, IP addresses, looking for any information we can find that will help us when we are performing our tests. This may involve scanning as well. Scanning is a great way to immediately find any types of gaps in security. Again, there's a lot of legacy applications. There's a lot of systems that should be offline or are thought to be offline but are not. Next up is the exploitation. We are going to look for ways to exploit IP addresses, domain names, systems, doors that may not have proper locks. Any way possible, we're going to look for ways to access. After this, we're going to do a post-exploitation, where again we are identifying and looking at what is the actual impact. This is also going to include detailed reporting, and in some cases we will provide simulations of how we could exploit it. It's up to the customer if we are going to help in the remediation, but the most important part is the reporting side, reporting our findings back to the customer so that they can decide what actions they want to take afterwards. There is really three types of testing that we agree to in the very beginning. Black box, no knowledge of their systems, access, or anything at all. We're just told that's the target and go from there. Next up is white box, where we have full knowledge of their internal architecture, their systems, all the information we need to perform our test. And then we have gray box, which I would say is probably where we fall the most, whereas the customer has given us some information, just enough for us to start our test, but we do not have the full picture, and it's up to us to get the entire picture of what we are targeting. All types of tools are out there. This is a few of the tools that we use, probably the most common, and the reason why we want to share this as well is that you as an organization, you should also be trying to do your own penetration testing. And if you can't afford a company, an external company to do it, most definitely you should be doing it yourself. This is not something you want to wait. You want to constantly be doing penetration testing along with vulnerability scans, which I mentioned in the previous video. For penetration testing in the federal and the defense space, we are focusing on normally controls and frameworks that, especially if we're talking about like NIST, SP 800, 171, we know where to focus. CMMC, just the same. ITAR, the same. We're focusing specifically on controls, which are, a lot of them overlap. A great example would be just like HIPAA, right? HIPAA, there's a lot of controls that would overlap your NIST controls. So when we are doing any type of penetration testing, we're looking for not only one actual regulatory compliance to comply with, but we're looking for several at one time. The benefits are pretty clear. Most importantly, we want to find the weaknesses before the attackers do. The attackers have lots of time, energy, and sometimes money if we're talking about state attackers. We really want to constantly be on the guard and defense to make sure that if we are targeted for whatever reason, we are ready, that we already understand our weaknesses and we are doing everything possible to resolve these weaknesses and remediate them. You don't want your attackers to find weaknesses that you are not familiar with. And that's whether we're talking about physical, web, network, it doesn't matter. You really want to constantly work on your organization that all your weaknesses are covered versus being surprised later on. When you are looking for a partner for penetration testing, you really want a partner that is familiar with federal and DoD compliance requirements. There are loads of companies that perform penetration testing, but you really want to find a company that is used to doing penetration testing and can provide you the results you need, that you can do what you need to do to make sure your systems are protected. So in summary, most importantly, it's important to do penetration testing so you can identify any vulnerabilities you have. Also important to make sure that you can keep your compliance standards, especially if you're looking at CMMC level 2, level 3, and knowing your security posture and not making assumptions. I think nowadays companies assume that they are safe because they have not seen that they've been attacked, but what they don't know is that you are under attack every single day. It's just that the attackers may not have been lucky that day, but eventually they will, especially if you have something they want. So by performing penetration testing, you're staying one step ahead of your attackers, and you're keeping your organization safe and you're keeping your reputation intact. If you have any questions whatsoever, please reach out to Cleared Systems. We have over 25 years of experience in penetration testing and federal and DoD environments, including also ATOs. And we can help you with just about any test that you would need and provide you the proper reporting along with remediation if required. Give us a call at 1-888-575-4430.